Beyond the Pelvis is hosted by Dr. Kenael Segal, a pelvic floor PT and intuitive healer, and Laura Haraka, a somatic practitioner and breathwork facilitator. Each week, we explore alternative and holistic approaches to healing chronic pelvic pain and other painful or chronic conditions. Join us and other experts in mind, body, and spiritual healing as we discuss a wealth of modalities ranging from ancient practices to modern therapies that challenge the conventional Western model of treatment. Let's get right to it. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Pelvis.
Hi, Kenael. Nice to be here with you today again. I'm excited to share your story.
Yes. So last week we heard a lot about you and how you got into this space. It was really nice to hear your story. And we are also grateful that you did share what you shared with us.
Yeah, thank you. I really, I find it my mission and my purpose to really share with other people so that they can maybe connect and find hope in their own healing journey, basically. So today I am excited to hear your story.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, so where do you want to start?
Oh boy. I don't know. Where should we start? The very beginning? I mean, it goes back.
How did you first get involved with wanting to become a PT, a pelvic PT,
Ooh.
or why?
Right. So my journey to becoming a physical therapist is the purpose, I guess, was different than becoming a pelvic health physical therapist. I got into PT after leaving teaching. I used to be a middle school and high school science teacher. So I taught the sciences. Biology was my major, but I taught biology. I taught physical science, chemistry, physics, earth science. I taught, I feel like, all the sciences in middle school and high school. And I left that and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I actually started volunteering in a bunch of different places to see like what is it that I would like to do? Because I was collecting unemployment at the time and it was a summer. So I figured let me try it. And if I want to, I can go back to teaching if, I didn't find anything that I wanted. And one of the things that I did volunteer doing was in a physical therapy outpatient center. It was really small. Most of the patients were geriatrics,
Mhm.
elderly coming in for, issues with balance or they had fallen or, aches and pains here and there. But I really sort of fell in love with working with older people
Oh,
from there because they were so sweet. And I mean, I couldn't do much because I wasn't, an assistant or an aide or, employed to touch or work with these people, but I would keep them company. So if they were on the bicycle or the elliptical or the arm bike, whatever they were doing, I would sit with them and talk and keep them company.
two things you said there, which were really, really great. And it's one thing I tell my clients, you weren't sure what you wanted to do.
No, I really didn't.
So what did you do? You just explored.
Yeah, that was my moment to just explore. I became a companion to
Mhm.
these people, sitting and listening to them and their lives and their history and their families. And, it really made me feel nice and toasty on the inside because I felt like I wasn't doing much, right? But I recognized I didn't have to. I just needed to be present with them, and they appreciated that. And it made me feel really good. And I thought I would like to go into physical therapy, because of that experience. A big part of that was also the PT that I was shadowing or observing because she was so kind and so gentle and she listened to them as well. And I thought, wow, this is what physical therapy is. I had no experience prior to that with physical therapy, whereas some other people, when I was in PT school, they had PT themselves or had family members who did. They knew what it was. I didn't really know. I had no idea until that time when I started shadowing and observing and sitting with the therapist and, and the patients.
Yeah. And you
But
didn't have to have a title. That's the
no,
other
I
thing.
no.
There was
I
no
was just a
title.
teacher, a volunteer, really.
Yeah. but it lit you up.
It did. It did. I think I've always been in the wanting to help people type of person. I mean, those people who go into teaching sort of feel the same way. We just want to help people. And those people might be little people, children, or they may be young adults or whoever it is. But yeah, that's what got me into teaching. And I couldn't stand the bureaucracy, right? I just couldn't stand all the politics and stuff behind it. And I felt like I couldn't be the teacher I wanted to be with all the politics. So I decided to leave and figured if it was meant to be, I would come back as a teacher somehow. And I actually did. I mean, I did teach at Rutgers in the anatomy department for a couple of years with undergrad students who were pre-med, pre-PT, pre-nursing. I'm in the cadaver lab looking to move on into a medical or health related field. And that was rewarding as well. Bureaucracy and politics behind that why I left as well, but at least I got to do that. And I feel like even today, as a physical therapist, I still teach. We still teach people how to be in their bodies. We teach people about movement and the nervous system, anatomy and function. So there's still teaching involved. It's not your traditional sit down classroom with, blackboard or whiteboard nowadays. But it's still a form of education and teaching. And education is a big part of how I treat in physical therapy. Now, to answer how I got into pelvic health, that was personal.
Mm,
When I
I can't wait
started,
to hear.
right, when I started PT school, I was 4 months postpartum, which sounds crazy when I think back on it. I was 4 months postpartum and 4 months post surgery because I had a C-section.
Wow.
It hadn't even crossed my mind that I would end up needing surgery, but I did. I didn't prepare for a C-section when I was preparing for having a baby, but that is how it worked out for me. And I didn't feel like I should have delayed school. Thinking back, I probably should have, but I didn't. And I did it. And I got
Mm.
through, and I am here because of all of that. But I was postpartum, and it was during pregnancy and the postpartum experience of my first, which resulted in my own abdominal and pelvic floor dysfunction. And even in PT school, it took me over a year to figure that out because I was still just a student. And it took one of my professors pulling me off to the side and saying, I think you need to see an actual pelvic floor PT to help you with what you're experiencing.
So what were you experiencing to know that something was going on?
Severe back pain. I
Mm.
couldn't stand or do much without a brace. I had abdominal separation and now I know a hernia as well. And no one knew this, but I also had incontinence because I didn't have any pelvic floor strength. It just wasn't
Mm.
there. My whole core strength was severely compromised. And yeah, I needed treatment with a pelvic floor physical therapist. It took over a year for me to recognize that. And even when I did recognize it and I went to the doctor, medical doctor, to let them know, hey, I think I need physical therapy to address all of these issues that I was experiencing, I was told, you're still healing, give it some time. And in my mind, I was like, it's been a year. How much time we go give? Because that was
Yeah.
a lot already. So I basically refused to leave the office until I got a prescription to go to physical therapy because that was the requirement at the time for the place that I was going to go.
Oh, can
So
I just hold you there for a second? For a year,
a year,
one whole year,
a whole year.
you were in school having back pain, incontinence, and just dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. And postpartum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of amazing.
Amazing, crazy, whatever.
Yeah. And the other fact is what the doctor said to you.
Oh, yeah. That was when I got angry.
Mm, good.
That was when I got angry. And that was why I was like, I'm not leaving this office until I get a prescription. And I did not leave until I got a prescription,
Good
right?
for you demanding what you needed.
By the time I got to PT, I made the appointment right away. It took 3 weeks for the back pain to stop, the
Mm.
incontinence to go away, for me to be able to hold my child standing up.
Wow.
3 weeks. And that was when I got angrier
Now
because
this is just to be clear, a regular physical therapist or a
it was
pelvic
a
physical?
pelvic floor.
Okay.
Pelvic floor physical therapist. Yeah. And the reason why I got angrier was because I recognized that had I not demanded, I got that prescription and treatment, I still would have had all of those issues and waiting for time to heal. Time did not heal. I needed treatment.
Yeah, a year is enough time.
A year was
More
plenty.
than enough time to heal.
Mhm. Yeah, so that was when I decided that was going to be my focus while I was a student. That's the direction I'm going. I'm going into pelvic health, pelvic floor physical therapy. And I took classes right away. Normally, people will take classes after they graduate and then they take the classes to specialize. I did it while I was a student because I knew this is what I'm doing. I want to be able to do this the second I graduate, the second I am licensed. Next day, I'm starting to treat.
You were pretty motivated, let me tell you.
I was so motivated.
Mm,
I was very motivated. And during the time when I was a student, I started following and looking up other therapists who were in the space of pelvic health and pelvic floor and just learning from them through social media. At the time, it was Facebook and through their YouTube channels. And I don't even know if I was listening to podcasts at the time, but I was learning from them and sort of using them as my mentor, even though they didn't know it at the time, but
mm,
they were my mentors. And
mhm.
I looked at them for, okay, I'm going to open my own practice. I'm going to treat pelvic floor. This is how I'm going to do it. These are the women I'm going to help. And I did once I graduated, although by the time I graduated, I was severely pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
When I was licensed, I was severely pregnant. So
Mhm,
I didn't start working right away. I gave it some time because the first time, remember, I started school 4 months postpartum.
mhm.
So the second time around, I thought, well, I'm going to work for myself. I have complete control over how long I stay at home with my child.
And how were you feeling while you were pregnant? How were your symptoms that you were experiencing
The
before?
second time?
Yeah, the second time. How were you feeling this
So
time?
the second time around, I pregnancy was always fine for me. I didn't really have much issues during pregnancy. It was mostly postpartum.
Mhm.
But the knowledge that I gained from those 3 weeks of physical therapy, after my first, that's information you always have with you. And that's something I share with my patients today. The information you learn now is information you will always have. Nobody can take that education and knowledge away from you. You will always know more about your body than anyone else because you're familiar with it, right? You
Exactly.
should know how to be your own healer. And this information, the basics, the foundation is that knowledge and information that you need to know. So when something does go wrong, you know when something goes wrong, but you also have the tools to address it. If it's
Yeah.
overwhelming and you can't manage it on your own, then that's the time when you go seek someone and you know exactly who to go to. So you're not bouncing around from people to people.
Yeah. It's such a great lesson because I have clients that maybe will be doing really well, and then all of a sudden something will happen in their life and they'll have some pain or a setback, and they might get concerned that, oh, they're back to square one. You're
Mhm.
never back to square one because you're not the same person you were.
Exactly.
You can't take away all those things you've learned already. And now you have the tools to deal with it.
I say exactly the same thing. It might
Mm.
feel like that thought might come to your
Mhm.
mind, but you have to recognize very quickly, oh, no, I'm a different person. I
Mhm.
know things now and I know what to do. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, if it's too overwhelming, you know where to go. You know who to go to and you know what to ask for. Or maybe you
Mhm.
don't, but you at least know where to go and what to do.
Right. And it's such a strength to ask for support and ask for help because we all need that at some times in our lives.
Of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
After my daughter, my second, I went to physical therapy. I went back to pelvic floor PT just to make sure, is everything good? I mean, I wasn't experiencing the back pain, the incontinence, the abdominal separation as severely as I was the first time. Yeah, I had abdominal separation because that's just what pregnancy does. The belly is going to stretch, the abdominal muscles have to go with it. But I was able to sort of get it back to a good baseline postpartum. It took a little bit longer because my body knew how to stretch and it
Mm,
stretched.
yeah, yeah. So you were
So
proactive this time
I was
and went to a
way,
physical floor therapist just to
yeah,
make sure everything was okay and things like that.
yes, I did. I went to PT afterwards. And at this point, I was a licensed PT, not
Mhm.
yet working. So I knew what to do. And I had already taken the pelvic health classes. I already knew what to do, but you can't do everything by yourself,
No, you
right?
can't.
So I knew to be proactive in that sense, and I did go to therapy pretty much right away. As soon
Mhm.
as I could, I was back in therapy, getting the treatment that I needed, and then continuing with, what I could do for myself.
Yeah, and it's
And
so interesting.
that's still how I am today. After I had my third and I was practicing and already
Mhm.
seen several hundred patients and helped a lot of women through prenatal, postpartum, menopause, I had seen the whole life cycle by then. I was even more prepared for the birth and
Mhm.
for the labor and for, postpartum.
And you're a pelvic floor PT. How many women do you know go to pelvic floor PT after birth?
Not many. Not many, but I will say more than in the past. I've definitely seen a shift. I mean, I've been doing this since 2017, and I've seen a shift in just the knowledge and education. In other countries, postpartum recovery, it's a thing. You do it, but not in America, not in these United States. It's you only get a few weeks and you go back to work as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I know I had two children and I was never once told you should go to pelvic floor PT after the births of your children.
It just wasn't a thing. It was not a thing. And I do see more women now coming in just for a postpartum checkup, which I'm glad that they are. If they've never done pelvic floor physical therapy before, then okay, this is your baseline. Now, know that you have more room for growth because you are early postpartum. But at least here are the things that you can work on. Here are the
Mhm.
things that your body is doing or struggling with right now so that you can work on it.
Yeah, it's so important that we give ourselves care after we have a baby. Our bodies have went through so much.
It is traumatizing for the body. It is physical trauma. And as much as people like to say, "Oh, it's birth and it's natural," yeah, it is. But that's why other cultures have built in this time of rest and recovery because the body does need rest and recovery. There has been an injury. There's a giant gaping wound inside the uterus where the baby used to sit, where the placenta was attached to. That needs to heal. If there
Yeah,
was
it's
a C-section or a vaginal birth, some stretching or some cutting was done. That needs to heal.
so important. So you had your three children, you started your practice, and where are you now?
I feel like things shifted quite a bit. There's always space for working with prenatal postpartum women, but I have this connection. I don't know why, but I have this connection wanting to work with people who experience chronic issues, so chronic pain.
Mm,
Not even just chronic pain, but chronic conditions, especially things that are stress related or trauma related.
hmm
I don't know. I feel it's kind of my calling to help these people realize that it is stress related, and to help them with stress management,
hmm
right? And how I do that is through mind, body, spiritual practices.
Tell us a
So
little more about that then.
yes. Since the pandemic, I have really leaned well far into this. Prior to that, I was sort of dipping my toe into it. I knew it was where I needed to go, but I just didn't know how. And I did not see a lot of examples. I didn't see a lot of examples to help guide me. There weren't classes being offered. There weren't people on social media saying I'm doing these things. It just wasn't available. So I wasn't even sure, like, can I do this? Should I be doing this? But I knew that I had to incorporate mind body into my practices because it was helping patients.
Yeah.
I started to notice that manual therapy does work. And I
Mhm.
was really leaning heavily into the manual therapy because that's how I could get my hands on people. And then while I'm doing that, I can talk to them, right? And I can really get a literal feel of their nervous system because somehow I can feel that through my hands,
Mhm.
right? And then I can ask them questions. How are you sleeping? How is your diet? How is your life at home? These things would come up and then they would tell me, and I would realize, whoa, you are under a lot of stress. Have you
Mhm.
considered doing XYZ to help manage that? And then it would help. They would
Mm.
feel better.
So you realized that there was more to it than just treating the body.
Oh, yeah. There was way more to it than treating the body. And I remember the day that I actually meditated for the first time with someone, and I thought, can I do this? Am I allowed to do
Mhm.
this? Can I bill for this? How does that work in physical therapy? And I did it and it felt good. I felt like, wow, I really enjoyed that. That felt so fun to do. And I think they enjoyed it as well. And the more I would incorporate this meditation with my patients, the more it would grow. And I
Mm.
started changing it based on what they needed at the time. And it helped quite a
Mm.
bit. And it took me a while to realize that I was probably hypnotizing my patients without realizing
Mm.
it. Not in
Wow.
a bad way, but in a good way. I was using techniques from hypnosis to help them, one, deal with their pain, accept it, and then change it. And it worked.
Yeah.
I
And you
could not
said,
explain how or why, but it worked. So I just kept doing it. And then I would just continue trying these things that I felt, I feel like they need this today. I feel like they need that today. And it was helping. It wasn't everyone, but it was helping. It was helping.
it seems like it came instinctively to you,
Yeah, right.
like what
So
to do and
this
what
is
they
where I
needed.
call it like my intuitive healing
Yeah.
because it came to me and I was going with my guts. What is it that I feel like they need in this moment? What is it that they might need to talk about? And we would talk about it, or I would suggest something or sort of evolve each time. And I also noticed that when I could recognize that someone needed mental health therapy or
Mhm.
trauma therapy, I would recommend it and they weren't going.
Mm.
And I'm like, how are they going to get better if they're not actually going? Because I knew that's what they needed to help them in this situation, but they
Mhm.
weren't going. What am I supposed to do? I can do all the manual therapy I want. It's not going to get better, or
Right.
it's not going to get to the level that I know it can. This is my intuition talking. So it got to the point where I thought, well, fine, if they're not going to go to therapy, I'm still going to offer them something so that it can help.
Mhm.
So I really leaned more into meditation. I really learned on my own about hypnotherapy techniques.
Mhm.
I really leaned into yoga. I leaned into journaling, all of these things to help them. If they're not going to go to therapy, then we can address it in another way because therapy is not the only way,
Right.
right? And since the pandemic, there's been this big talk about the anxiety and depression that so many people face and the collective trauma that we all went through. And people were coming in with signs of trauma.
Mhm.
I had a big increase in people who were coming in for pain conditions.
Mhm.
And to me, it was so obvious that it was stress related
Yeah,
and
so the pain
trauma.
conditions completely spiked with all the stress going on
To
in the
me,
world.
that's how it felt. Yeah, like a lot of people were experiencing these physical manifestations of the trauma we were all experiencing. And it may not have been directly like, I'm going to get COVID. It could have been the situation that changed around their work. Instead of going to work, now they're working from home and they're having to homeschool their kids who were home. and they're in the house with their partner who they might not feel safe with. There were so many things happening. It was manifesting as pain conditions for some. GI issues were popping up as well. Everyone that had a pain condition had a GI issue, and it
Mhm.
was just, "Oh, I have IBS, but let's talk about this pain in my low back." But it was all related to me. It was all
Mhm.
related to me because it was so obvious this is nervous system related. So I can massage and mobilize and give you all the exercises for your back, but we also have to talk about the stress and how you're managing that. And are you going outside and taking breaks and taking walks and getting fresh air and getting sunlight and drinking enough water and eating proper nourishing food? We have to talk about all of those things. We also had to talk about their beliefs. How do you feel about healing and recovery, about your pain? Because I recognize that some people would blame themselves and say
Mm.
they would think that they deserve to be in pain.
Wow.
I can't help you if you feel like you deserve to suffer.
Mhm.
And if you're not gonna go to therapy to address that, I can't. I'm an empath. I can't just
Mhm.
leave you hanging, right? So I'm gonna offer the meditation, the journaling, the yoga. I'm gonna offer these things to try to help,
Yeah, but these people also needed to change their limiting beliefs.
is the mindset. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would ask about it. I have no problem asking people questions
Mhm.
that other people might not ask, whenever we take classes in physical therapy, classes related to like sexual health, or we have to ask about trauma or sexual abuse, some people are afraid of asking about that. I have no problem asking all the questions, right? If sex hurts, what position? What does it look like? Where's your leg? Are you doing
Mhm.
anything crazy? I'm asking all the questions. I have no problem asking questions that some people feel shy to ask about. So when it comes to those things too, like asking about your thoughts and beliefs about yourself and suffering, and do you feel that you deserve to get better? I'm gonna ask those questions too, especially if I
Mhm.
sense that there may be those limiting beliefs to why you're not getting better.
Right, because those limiting beliefs are keeping us stuck in a state of fight or flight,
Mhm,
and it's very hard for our body to heal when we have those beliefs and we're stuck in a sympathetic activation. We can
mhm,
only really heal when we're in a parasympathetic rest, digest, calm,
yeah,
relaxed state.
yeah, and sometimes those limiting beliefs are not even conscious, they're subconscious,
Yeah,
right?
most of them are.
They are, they
Yeah,
are, actually, yeah, it's
they
what is it, like
actually are.
80 to 90% of
90 actually,
it's a high
I
number.
believe it's only 3 to 5% is conscious. The rest is our subconscious.
All subconscious. So you can say out loud all you want. I think I want to get better. I should get better. I should get better. But your subconscious belief based on what you learned when you were 4, 5, 6, 7 years old says otherwise.
Mhm,
Right? And we have to address that. So when I ask people about their parents, what their
mhm,
relationship with their parents was like, if they had any sort of traumatic experience, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, why are we talking about this?
mhm,
Because sometimes it's the reason, not the reason, but sometimes it could play a role in why you're experiencing the things you are experiencing. And the clue to that is if they bring it up, and they almost always bring up they're
mhm.
coming in for back pain and somehow they start talking about their father.
It's funny, you're not just using your hands, you're being a pelvic floor PT, you're being a talk therapist, you're a meditation teacher. You kinda got it all going on there.
It's
You're
a
playing a
little.
lot of different roles in that room.
Yeah, yeah. I wear many different hats. And sometimes my therapy sessions, I mean, I'm calling it therapy sessions. I mean, physical therapy is therapy, but sometimes it's talking. Sometimes it's more talking than doing because we have to uncover something. We have to uncover the things that are in your subconscious or your beliefs. Because if you don't believe that you can or should get better, it doesn't matter what I do. It means nothing. I'm wasting my time. you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we do until we get to, I mean, we might not get to the root cause, but at least we can get an idea of like, huh, okay,
Yeah.
we
And
should look
it's
here.
good to say too, we can bring those subconscious thoughts into our conscious
Yeah, of
and
course.
make ourselves aware of them
Yeah.
because our brain can be retrained
Oh, of
to
course.
think differently.
That is neuroplasticity. And
Mhm.
I was incorporating that into, meditation techniques that I was doing with people, bringing the subconscious to the conscious and then reframing that, which I later
Exactly.
found out is part of NLP. I don't even know what
Mhm.
it stands for. I forget. But it's part of hypnotherapy, right? Reframe.
Neuro-linguistic programming, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Neuro-linguistic programming. I was already using some of these techniques that were being used by so many different people in the mind space. But
Mhm.
here I am in the body space, using that and bridging the gap between mind and body. And then I brought spirituality into it as well because people would bring it up. I pray for this, I pray for that, I repent or I do all of these different things. That determines who they are as well. What
Mhm.
kind of person are they? What
Mhm.
their beliefs are. So sometimes it was important to know what beliefs they had because sometimes those beliefs were limiting. So
And
then we,
it's people think these beliefs are like set in stone, but beliefs are not all real. Like, whatever you practice during the holidays, everyone knows who Santa Claus is. And, we used to believe in Santa Claus or who if it was, where your upbringing
yeah,
was, but it's not true.
they can be changed. Really, the goal is to just find your truth because your truth might not be my truth, right? But what is truth for you? That's also going to be supportive and beneficial for you. Because if you have a truth that's limiting, that's not going to help you. But if you now can learn a new truth and practice that new truth, that's going to be beneficial, for your greater good.
Yeah.
You're going to live a much better life.
Yeah, yeah. So you've had more success dealing with the whole mind body approach than just using your hands to treat people physically.
Yeah, I have. And I've gone back and forth. I've really sat down like, what is this? What am I doing? Is this functional? Is it integrative? Is it holistic? I've probably used all the above.
Mhm.
Whole body. I've used all of the terms. I don't really know what to call it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know now today it's the mind, body, spiritual.
Yeah,
But yeah, I see the whole person.
right. That's what we have to see is the whole person. So what do you do now?
A lot of different things. I mean, I still see people one on one.
Hmm.
I'm still working with individuals one on one. I'm in New Jersey. We're both in New Jersey. So I see people individually one on one for physical therapy and I just incorporate all of the stuff, right? All
Hmm.
of the things that I know that I've experienced with people or practiced using even myself. So people will ask me like, "Oh, I see you do some other things too." And the other things is usually the yoga, the meditation, the sound bowl. Do I get that too? Do I pay separate for that? Like, no, you're not hiring the sound therapist or the yoga instructor. You're getting me, and that is who I am. I will do yoga. I will do sound therapy if we need to. I will talk about mindset. We will journal. We will do breath work. Like we do a variety of things based on what is needed. And I work with people now even virtually outside of New Jersey. So I've sort of branched out into coaching as well because I was already doing it with my patients. So I can do that with people virtually. And because I've been in the pelvic space, I mean, I'm not like the pioneer in pelvic health, but I've been doing it long enough where I can sort of get an idea of, okay, I think someone is holds more tension in the pelvic floor versus not enough tone in the pelvic floor based on how they answer certain questions and certain things. So I can coach people even virtually without touching them or seeing their pelvic floor on best techniques and practices for them. Also incorporating some mind body practices as well based on, who they are as a person and what they're experiencing. And then I also do yoga here and there. I offer some workshops sometimes. My workshops are so sporadic and so random, I feel like, because I mean, they're all related, but I may be in the mood to do more yoga workshops. I may be in the mood to do more sound bath. I do that as well, like vibrational therapy. I use crystal bowls and a few other vibrating tools. I may be in the mood to do more anatomy and education. So it depends on the season. And I'm
Right.
really leaning into the seasonal, that feminine energy of seasonal
Mm,
changes. So
right.
like now in the wintertime, I just want to hibernate.
Right.
I lean more into restorative yoga
Hmm.
or more sound bowls or yoga nidra, where it's
I
like,
think everyone feels that same way with it getting
right?
darker out.
Yeah. Whereas in the spring and summer, I'm like, okay, let's do a really active yoga practice. And, so I tend to work in that way. So each season it's a little bit different.
Right. Yeah. True. True.
But
True.
it's all related. It's all things that are really gonna benefit the both the mind and the body, but also the spiritual part of who you are.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today about your story that we didn't mention or anything you'd like to bring up?
This is me. I mean, more things will come up throughout the different episodes. I'm really excited to talk to other people who are in this space, especially physical therapists, because it
Right.
can feel so lonely being in this space. Because we all learn in PT school, we all learn about the biopsychosocial model of care, which means that there's biology, psychology, and social aspects that affect a person. And we're taught that these different umbrellas, these different things can affect your treatment. If we don't affect, or if we don't consider the psychological space a person is in, then you're not really treating the whole person. We all learn that in PT school, but I feel like it's not practiced in reality. And I was just having this conversation on social media with someone. I think that is because of the systems
Mhm.
that we live in. Our medical system is not a preventative system. It's not a preventative care model. It's a sick care model.
Mhm.
We're sick, we do this or we do that. And the this is usually a procedure, and the that is a prescription. And anything outside of that is, well, we don't know what's wrong with you. And
Exactly.
I think this is how people end up with chronic pain because the procedure is not going to help and the pill might not help. I mean, it might help some, but it's not going to help completely, right? But we
Mhm.
have to take into consideration who the person is, what roles they are responsible for, and their mental capacity or their emotional state. We have to consider all of these things because that is who the person is, and we can't look at them from, one point of view with just the body. Well, oh, the body hurts. Where does it hurt? Well, here's all the things in that space that it could potentially be, not realizing that they're so stressed, they're not getting sleep, they're not eating well, they work three jobs. We have to consider all of those things, but the system is not set up in that way. Physical therapists, we're really fortunate to work with patients for the amount of time that we do.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of doctors, so the time that they actually spend with you is like, you're lucky if you get 10 minutes in
Well,
the
yeah, it's true. Have clients that are doctors, and after I explain to them basically the biopsychosocial model and how pain works, I always say to them, why? Why isn't this part of like your practice?
and the response.
Explaining this to people. And the response is it's the system.
Mm.
There's not enough time. It's not our fault. We just don't have the capacity to get to every single person and treat all three aspects of what need to be treated.
See, oh yeah, it's the system. And I get that. And I'm aware that they're even aware of that. The
Mm,
system is broken and it
Mhm.
needs to fix. And the other thing is insurance, which is part of the system,
Yes.
right? Because that's what drives the system, really. It's capitalism. That's another
Yeah.
story. But that's what drives everything. So if the system is broken and is not really helping people, to be quite honest, I would rather be outside the system.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that is why I do the things that I do, how I do it. On a regular basis, people ask me, why don't you take insurance? Why don't you take insurance? Because the insurance is part of the system, and the system doesn't allow me to do the things I feel is best for the person.
Right.
I'm not treating you based on how the insurance company wants me to treat you. I'm treating you how I feel it's best to treat you so that you're not dependent on the system. That's another thing
Exactly.
with the system, too. When you get a procedure or a prescription, again, not saying you don't need it, some people
Mhm.
do, but it might leave you dependent on that. And you need to be able to not be. It's
E
best if you're not, right? The system wants us to be sick, but well enough to function. But if we
Yeah.
can be healthy and well, then we don't need the system as much. I think that's part of the reason why people like me and people like you doing what we do, we're the witches and it's not evidence-based, it's woo-woo, it's
Mm.
not effective. We're seen as the crazy people.
Yeah, kind of. Definite that's so true. That's
Right?
so
We're
true.
seen as the crazy people because we talk about emotions and we talk about
Mhm.
feelings and we ask them about the food that they eat and how they are doing in their life in general. And do you like your work? We're the crazy people for asking those questions when that's really what gets people better. That's really how we treat people is by seeing them as the whole person and addressing all of the things. So that's why I am not completely in the system,
Mhm.
right? I don't want to put myself in a box where I'm told what to do and how to do it. I would rather be outside of the box looking in.
Well, you definitely see things outside of the box, and you definitely hit all those different areas.
I go in and out of the box.
Yeah.
I'm outside the box, but I can go in and then I come
Mhm.
out again.
And the cool thing is too, all those things you were talking about, emotions, feelings, eating well, there's science behind it. And not that we're going to get into it completely today,
Yeah.
but there is such a science on how feeling our emotions actually relieves pain due to the parts of the brain that process pain and emotions. So it's not all woo-woo, right?
It isn't. It's not, but people are made to feel that way. It's like
Exactly.
this whole campaign to those crazy people, see them as crazy so you don't go to them, right? It's a whole campaign against some of the things that we do because it goes against the system, and the system can only function if we believe in it. If
Right.
everybody stopped doing it, there is no system. There's no more system. But some people need to be in the system, I guess, for it to work.
Yeah.
But at some point, I am confident the system will break and we will
I
make
think so
a
too.
new one. We will make a new system.
I agree. I think it's coming. And in the meantime, we can just keep bringing awareness to men and women with pain that there's more than one thing you can do besides the medical system to help yourself.
Yeah. And a note on the medical system we are all familiar with is the Western medical system. That is
Exactly.
not the only system, and it is probably the youngest system. It's good. There's
Mhm.
technology that allows us to do things we weren't able to do before. Not saying it's bad, it's just not the only one. There are
Mhm.
plenty more older systems that have data to support and back up its effectiveness. And I mean, that's our goal, really, for this podcast is to introduce people to all the variety of things. We're not saying it to throw this Western medical system completely in the garbage, right?
Absolutely not. Right.
No, we're not saying that. There's nothing wrong with procedure and there's nothing wrong with medication, but it's not the only way. That's all.
Exactly.
There are a variety of ways. There are a variety of things to look at. It's not just body, it's not just mind, it's not just spiritual. It's a combination of all the things.
Absolutely. Kenael, thank you so much for sharing your story today with me, with everyone listening. You definitely are amazing on how much you bring into your sessions for your clients. So I hope people take away from today that there's so many different ways out there to heal your body, heal your mind, heal your spirit. Thank you so much.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you. And we look forward to many more episodes diving a whole lot deeper into a little bit of everything we talked about between today and, the last episode. So this will be great. Tune in next time. If you'd like to leave us a message or ask a question, please check the show notes with the link so you can reach us directly, or email us at beyondthepelvis@gmail.com.